There was a room down in the basement of the house where I grew up that kind of turned into my music room. And my friends and I would we'd get like cardboard boxes, paint stirrers. We'd have a foosball table and tennis rackets and a broom shaft. And we would be Deep Purple and Status Quo and Uriah Heep, and we would turn the heat up. There was an old radiator heater, you know, and we would turn the heat up to 10 in the room. Then we'd start sweating and, you know, miming along to Made in Japan and Uriah Heep Live and so on and so forth. And I was the one that kind of ended up on the cardboard boxes with the paint stirrers. And it just kind of gravitated towards that. And probably pretty soon thereafter, I got down on my knees in front of my grandmother, and I was about 14 or 15, and I begged her for a drum kit. And lo and behold, the grandmothers are prone to make these things happen. Within a fairly short time period, a drum kit showed up. Single kick, 1 rack, 2 floor toms. It was kind of pieced together. I think it was like a Slingerland tom and a Premier floor and something else. They were all sort of a little bit kind of like, maybe there was a Ludwig drum in there. It was a little bit kind of the kind of that classic cream color kind of thing there, you know. But that was the first kit, and I banged away on that for a couple of years. After my drum kit got stolen, my Camco drums got stolen in the spring of '84 on the East Coast. I think I punted my way through renting drums for the better part of the next 6 or 8 months. We played a lot in Europe, but every time I went to Europe, we'd get rental drum kits that would fall over and blah, blah, blah. So when we hooked up with Q Prime and Cliff Bernstein and that whole thing in the fall of '84, instantly they connected me to Tama. This was probably October of '84. And Neil Peart at that time was the big Tama and Dorsey. And Cliff Bernstein, our manager, was the guy that signed Rush to Mercury Records a decade before. So he knew the Rush guys really well. He said, "You want to talk to Neil Peart about drums?" I was like that big at the time. And it was just like talking to Neil, who was like the god of gods. And so I actually, you know, managed to sort of get enough gusto up to dial the phone number that I was given. And I called him, and it's like, I spoke to Neil Peart for like half an hour about Tama drums. It was pretty amazing. The good people at Tama sent me a drum kit to my specifications, and so that's 29 years. I've never thought of playing any other drums. They were the first ones that stepped up and helped out, and they've been absolutely amazing since. That's the only setup I've played since the summer of '94. Before that, I had 2 extra rack toms, a small one there and a big one there. And so what that did, it pushed the hi-hat really far this way and the ride cymbal really far. So I would play the ride and the hi-hat like this. And I was hanging out with Jerry Cantrell up in Seattle and went to an Alice in Chains rehearsal room and played Sean Kinney's drums. And he had just 2 rack toms in front of me. Actually, I think just 1 maybe. And his hi-hat sat in front of him rather than on his side. I go, that's pretty cool. And that was a lot easier to play. So I lost the 2 rack toms on the sides. That's probably been the only change since then. Oh, I think that the second floor tom back there was affectionately dubbed the coffee table for many years because it was never actually used for anything other than to put, you know, drinks on or sticks. So I think at some point that went from a 20 to an 18. Other than that, it's been just about business as usual for about 20 years. You know, the one thing that struck me when I came to America was that in America, everybody was talking about making it. And I found that there was a particular kind of sort of goal-oriented culture at play in America that I had not really experienced growing up in Europe. I'm not saying that's better or worse. I'm just saying a lot of kids I would talk to, I'd come to America and say, yeah, I want to be a rock star. I want to do this, and I want to do this, and in 5 years I'm going to do this. And I just sat there and said, I just want to play Diamond Head songs and sweat in my room. I wasn't like that ambitious. And so I think if you can just kind of hone in on what your real motive is and try to be pure, you know, I don't think there's a right or wrong. It's just about, you know, I want to be a rock star. I want to make money. I want to meet girls. Or, okay, fine, do your thing, you know. But I want to play music. I want to write songs. I want to communicate through the medium of music with other people. You know, there are many different ways. It's not some are better or worse. It's just, I think if you can identify what your pure motives are, then the less thought, you know, the less kind of forced thought you put into it, the better the chances are of something good happening. Now, something good may not equal something successful, but that's okay. I mean, you can still be successful and not necessarily be widely recognized, you know what I mean? So there are many different takes on this. I think that ultimately people that are talented, you know, will rise to the top, you know, an audience will find you if you stick with it. But I'm, you know, at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and go sort of, you know, like, the only way to do it is to be pure and truthful, you know. Everybody's got their own truth, you know. But for me, I just wanted to play music. And I don't know what it was about sweating. I don't know. It may sound a little silly, but it was just like, it was like playing and turning up the heat and sweating. I don't know, I guess that's what the people that we looked up to did on stage, so that's who we wanted to be, you know. You know, in some way, I think you could argue that I look at the stage as being probably the safest place in my day on tour. There's nobody that bothers me up there. There's nobody taps me on the shoulder. There's no phone calls. There's nothing I can do. There's a tremendous amount of freedom up there. And when it really works and you free yourself of everything else that's going on and you connect with the three other guys in the band and you connect with the audience, you know, obviously it's very freeing. And I think obviously sort of just being able to sort of do what you feel in that moment is very liberating. We've had a pretty fulfilling ride for the better part of 32 years and a lot of different experiences. I think that, I don't know, I wouldn't say that any of us, or Metallica as a band, has ever been particular goal-oriented. It's not like, ooh, we gotta do this, we gotta make it to here, sell this, or play standing on our heads somewhere. I mean, it's just, nowadays it's the fact that we're just still around and seemingly lots of people still care, and there are even those that call us borderline relevant still. So we appreciate that, and I think that just kind of I guess the longevity element of it itself is enough to keep us going. You know, listen, this is the main thing I've been doing in my life for 32 years. It's not, I don't really know anything else or do anything else, and you know, I'm not particularly, I don't really have any ambitions or anything like that. We got to do this, or when we take a year off, I've got to go climb, you know, Mount Everest or anything like that. So I love playing. I love playing with James, Kirk, and Rob, and I love getting out there and getting amongst it, and I would never change any of it.